The first thing you want to do is lay some cardboard down on your table and then cover it up with a cloth. Have some of your tools handy that you already made in class or at home, a little cup of water, a roll of tape to trace, and then a big bucket or bowl of water to clean off your hands and tools. All right, here's a little chunk of clay. We don't need a ton. We're just gonna take it down, pat it down with our fist, flip it up and down a few times, and then we're gonna roll it with the rolling pin. When you roll it with the rolling pin, you also wanna flip it up and down a few times. My clay is really wet. Your clay shouldn't be as wet as mine. The wetter it is, the more it's gonna stick to the rolling pin. So you just wanna be mindful of that. Gonna pick it up, flip it over again, roll it out some more. And you want it to be about this thick. Okay, I'll show you again. You're gonna take your roll of tape and then you're gonna trace a circle. And then you wanna cut that circle out. Right, so I cut out my circle and you can see this is the thickness of the slab. It's pretty uniformly thick all the way around. At this point, you just wanna take a little bit of water, dip your finger in it, and smooth out the edges so that they're not so rough. If you have a lot of texture on your whole entire slab, then you just want to take a little bit of water, and you can even use your rib and smooth the texture off of the tile. Once you have your circle rolled out, you want to make sure you flip it upside down, and you need to write your name. You need to write your hour. And if you are fully remote, I want a big R on the bottom so I can keep fully remote kids separate. Okay, at this point, after you have it somewhat smoothed, you don't have to get it perfect, you'll get it more perfect at the end. My suggestion is just divide it into 4 quarters. I know I had you do your design in 8 quarters, but really that might be too complicated to start off with right now, so just divide it into 4 quarters. You can either go off the design that you did for your drawing, or you can do something completely new and go with the flow. With this first one, especially if you're at home, if you just want to experiment, that's fine. All right, at this point, what you want to do is just pound out a little bit of clay. You're going to roll it out. It's easier to roll out a little bit than a lot with these little rolling pins at home. And then you want it to be maybe a little bit thinner than the thickness of your original one. Now, I already drew out that I want this to go in the 4 corners of my circle. So I made this little piece. Now I'm gonna lay it down here, and then I'm gonna trace this 4 times. While you're making your design, if you just want to lay things down and create your whole design without properly attaching anything first, that's okay. But at some point you have to properly attach it. The way you properly attach 2 pieces of clay is you have to take your scratching tool and you're going to scratch up where it goes, and you're going to scratch up the back of your object. Then you're going to take some of your water and you're just going to brush some of it on. If you don't have a brush, you can use your finger, and you're dabbing it on, and then you take it and you attach it that way. This ensures that it will stay on and not pop off when it is drying. You need to do that for all of your pieces that you attach to this whole tile. So now you'll see everything is attached properly, but I've got some lines here. It really doesn't look that great right now. Eventually I'm going to clean that up. I might clean it up now, I might clean it up later, but just know that that's something you're going to have to fix. Another thing is you'll notice that these might not be perfect. If you are a perfectionist, you're going to have a hard time with clay because clay moves on you. I can trace it to one perfect size, but when I pick it up, that size might change or bend. You can adjust all that stuff at the end as well. So now I'm just going to add more designs to my tile. If you have things that are just too little to scratch and score, you can just go ahead and put water on both sides where they're going to go, and that should hold it pretty good as long as you have water there. All right, my tile is feeling a little wet and mushy. When it's super wet and mushy, sometimes it's hard to do stuff with it. Usually at this point, it's the end of the hour, and it's good to wait a day, let it dry out a little bit in the bag, and then you can do some more work. Okay, now I am done adding stuff to the tile, at least so I think. Now I'm gonna push stuff into the tile. So you might want to experiment on a scrap piece of clay, just like we did in class the other day, about what textures might look good going around and on your tile, and then you can add it to the tile. So here's a video of my tile. You can see there's a lot of stuff that needs to be smoothed out. You cannot smooth the tile out very well when it's soft and mushy. You have to wait until it's leather hard. That is a term that we will talk about in the coming days, but just know that a lot of this mushy looking stuff, that's bad craftsmanship to leave it that way. A lot of that needs to be smoothed out, and that will come at the very end. Okay, let's say it's the end of the period and you have to clean up and you're not done with your project. What you need to do, I find it helpful if you can put it on a little paper plate. That way you can pick it up and you're not going to risk breaking it. If you have a Ziploc bag, you can slide it into the Ziploc bag and just close it up. That's the easiest thing. If you don't have a Ziploc bag at home, you can use a grocery bag. So here's a Kroger bag. Just make sure that there's no holes in the bag. And then put it in here. And then push out all the air and have it sit on top of itself. And then you just need to keep this in a safe spot where it won't get squished. I have a bin that I keep all my ceramic tools at home. This plate, you don't want to bend it and stick it in there because it will, it'll bend. I would just have it sit on top of your box. This is my lid. Set your project on top like this, and then go set it somewhere where air won't get in, and then you will clean up. Any leftover clay that you have, you need to mush back into a ball. I usually pound it down to get all the air out so it's nice and tight. Then you're going to put it back into your Ziploc bag and keep it somewhere safe.